Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to question whether the US Constitution really is divinely inspired. Some years ago, I believe it was Glenn Beck who addressed students at Liberty University, and he said that you can see the finger of God in the Constitution, and he was cheered to the echo. He knew this line would go down well. Now, Liberty University is perhaps a misnomer, because this university certainly does not encourage a liberal education. I use the word liberal in the classical sense of it, not in the modern political sense of it, as in encouraging broad-mindedness and exposure to other points of view, not promoting a certain ideology like that, and that university certainly encourages Christian fundamentalism. But perhaps I digress. I don't believe the founding fathers of the United States claimed that their constitution was divinely inspired. Maybe I'm wrong. Bear in mind, in the 18th century, almost every country had an established religion. The United States was almost unique in this regard. So if it really was divinely inspired, presumably God would be written all over it, and they wouldn't just say creator and things like that. They would spell it out. What is the creator? An atheist could say, well, that's just life or existence or something. Every country has a constitution. The United States is not unique in this regard. Are they all divinely inspired? Those who claim that the US Constitution is inspired by the Almighty never seem to have pondered this one or answer. How can they prove this one's inspired by God but not the others? Or maybe all of them are, in which case the US Constitution is nothing special, it's a mere banality. Now, the US Constitution is a mightily impressive document. It's very lucid, often lyrical, and often functions quite well. So, yeah, I think it was a tremendous feat to produce this, and has been emulated by many other countries. However, it's not perfect. It only said God inspired it, didn't say he actually wrote it. Are there some constitutions that work better, that don't have log jams when there are government shutdowns every so often? You might say, oh, well, that's not the Constitution, that's people in Congress behaving like that. But all right, the Constitution allows them to and doesn't have a proviso for what to do in these scenarios, which recur with depressing regularity. So I'll tell you a country which really could claim that its constitution was divinely inspired. Afghanistan, when it was ruled by the Taliban before 2001, they said their constitution was the Quran, the holy book of the Muslims. If you don't believe in Islam, then you can't accept that. But if these Christian fundamentalists really wanted a divinely inspired constitution, they could go for the Bible. Perhaps some Christian dominionists actually propose that. But divinely inspired, what does that mean? Is it in the more etymological sense, as in breathed into them, like God dictated it word for word? And there are some paintings which show Jesus with his hand on the shoulder of someone writing the Constitution, suggests that it really did come from him verbatim, which is just daft. I hope I didn't need to explain how that is so crazy. And if it was perfect, wouldn't it have outlawed slavery? Why would it allow such gross injustice? Why would it allow such frank hypocrisy, like saying, equality, whatever, your race, creed, or colour, but then have laws discriminating specifically on colour, on that heritable phenotype which had mentioned in the Constitution? Look, many of those who are Christian and evangelicals are pro-life, completely respectable position. Wouldn't the Constitution specifically outlaw abortion? Many states didn't ban that for decades, nor did the federal government really legislate about it for decades. It was strangely uncontroversial until the 20th century, been going on throughout recorded history. There are 25 amendments to the Constitution. It can't have been flawless if it needed so many amendments. A lot of those who believe the Constitution is so unutterably splendid believe that gun rights should be untrammeled. So why was the Second Amendment not in the first place? Why did that take till, goodness, I think it was 1791 before that made it in there? I know the Constitution's actually only 1788, so quite considerable time after the Declaration of Independence. If it's so vital, it would have been there right from the get-go. Anti-gay marriage, what an abomination, many Christian evangelicals say. So why didn't it make it in there? Nary a mention. I know homosexuality wasn't openly practiced in the 18th century. So it's ridiculous to valorize the Constitution. It is man-made, it is necessarily imperfect, it is subject to review. There have been hundreds of proposals to change it, and only a few of these has got through, as you know. So really there'd be no problems if it were so divinely inspired. Divinely inspired, does that mean that if I think on Almighty God, then anything I write is divinely inspired? Poem, a hymn, anything of that nature, or indeed the plastic arts, painting, making a sculpture, is it that level of divinely inspired? In which case anybody can be divinely inspired if he or she takes God or goddesses or a pantheon as his or her muse. So this really is preposterous. It's by those who just want to pat themselves on the back so much and think that their country is so absolutely outstanding. It's jingoistic. It's supremacist. My country, and I belong to two of them arguably, our constitutions aren't perfect. Not clear what they are. They might be worse than the US Constitution. I could accept that. It doesn't bother me that much. I'd like the situation to be better. But I'm not impelled by some childish, purblind attitude to say that everything about my country is best, or most of it is best, and just be boasting like that and thinking that God is on our side. That's the curious thing about God. He's been on both sides in every war ever fought. So the US Constitution is worthy of respect, but please tone it down. Don't be so foolishly chauvinistic about any constitution, including the ones that belong to my part of the world.